So everyone, thank you so much for coming. I think I know most everybody here, and my goal is to be doing these quarterly. And Kathie's the third person I've had. I had Roger Savvy, a friend of mine, Michael Mayer, and now Kathie. Kathie and I have known each other a long time. The first time I saw Kathie was on stage in 2005. Sorry, Kathie, I'm aging us. I'm at the Wigwam in Arizona with the Joe Stump event. And I'm pretty sure, I think you were there, Kathie. I think this is the first time I saw you.
2005. That was core days.
No, this is before core. This is before. Oh, no, maybe it was.
You're probably talking
no, it's
late 90s.
You're right. You know what? You're right. It was 1995.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was.
Yeah, we just got 10 years older, buddy.
Sorry about that. So 1995, Kathie's on stage. Joe Stump, for those of you who know, Kathie was on stage and he was talking about what he's done for her business and all of this stuff. And, you know, fast forward, 10 more years, Kathie was a coach for me on the core training. And Kathie didn't know about this until I think I just told her maybe 6 months ago. I came up with a nickname for Kathie called the Surgeon. And of course she said, why? And because this is what Kathie does. Kathie as a coach is amazing. She asks very, very precise questions. And then she thinks about it and gives you a very simple answer that's brilliant. And that's what Kathie did a lot for me was when she coached me was I would come with all these complexities, right? And then she'd ask me questions. And then she'd come back with, okay, now just do this. So that's what's so neat is you guys, we're going to have Kathie's mind today, and she's going to be sharing some things that I think are going to be very, very important going into this next year. That's why I wanted Kathie at the first part of the year. I think it's going to be extremely important. Also too, you guys, Kathie well, back up a little bit. I'm doing this other event next week. Long story short, I got these questions from Gary Keller that he asked a bunch of people recently. And one of them was, when is enough enough? And it made me think about Kathie in this space because Kathie had a big team living in Florida. I think you were doing around 300 units or so, Kathie?
A little bit less than that.
Anyway.
But that was back in the late 90s when that was big volume.
Yeah, so doing a lot of volume. And at some point, I don't have to go to the bathroom. Basics of it. She said enough's enough and said, you know what? I'm moving to Reno and transitioned her whole business. Decided to move to Reno. She was doing a lot more coaching at that point. But now she's also selling real estate. So if you guys need somebody in Reno who's just flat out a badass, Kathie is the person. I gave her a referral butt a couple of years ago. I referred to one of my friends who's a pain in my rear and everything. And I said, Kathie, I'm sorry in advance for this referral. I really apologize. He's the most high maintenance person ever. Yeah. And she figured it out. And he complains about everything. And he somehow did not complain one time about Kathie at all and used her again. And so bravo to you, Kathie. That was awesome.
And now we're buddies and we go to the Reno rodeo together.
Exactly. So with that, you guys, I'm going to pin Kathie.
Well, that was pretty good, Neal. I think you can just keep going. Thanks. And you mentioned a couple things there that we're going to be talking about today. One of them is simplicity. But so I want to, I would like for this to be an interactive experience for all of us. I mean, you've chosen to spend an hour of your lives, on this Zoom call. So I really want you to be able to walk away with a nugget or two. So, in person, I have no qualms about calling on people or asking people questions. And I think I can probably get you guys in gallery view. I could probably do that here too. So I just, and if you have a question, we have the chat box. You can raise your hand. You can, I want this to be an interactive experience. Okay, can we agree on that, guys? Say yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Like, okay, good.
Yes.
Here we go. So this is called Planning for Success in 2022. And so the operative word here is planning, right? There's, and we're going to touch on this a bunch. I mean, there's so much stuff available to us now about how to do your business plan, this, that, and the other thing. So can I assume, do we have business plans for 2022? Has everyone done one?
Yes.
Yes, yes, no, anybody not? It's okay, by the way, it's only January, whatever, 13th. We can get it done. So looking back on 2021, who had one of their best years ever in 2021? Anybody? Just Craig? Yes, no? Best year in 2021? Well, I have a couple of questions to ask you. So if your answer was no, it wasn't your, anybody's answer was no, it's okay either way. If your answer was no, that it wasn't your best year in 2021, I'm going to say we need to stop right there and drill down, because latter half of 2020, last 18 months has been one of the best markets we've ever seen. And really the skill set was to work hard. I mean, it had brought its own unique challenges, but to just keep pedaling, baby, because it was a market-driven market. So for those of us who have had an extraordinary year in 2021, and we think we're all that in a bag of chips because we did so well, I'm going to say let's stop quit congratulating ourselves. It was a market-driven year. So what is your goal for 2022? Lots of times we're like, oh, I did so great in 2021, I'm going to double it in 2022. That's a pretty standard way to approach it. I'm going to go 50% more volume and blah, blah, blah. I want to give you permission here. 2022 will be more, it'll still be a good year. I can guarantee that, but it's going to be more challenges than it was in 2021. So I think it's actually even a mighty fine goal to keep at the same volume level that you had in 2021 and 2022, because we're going to get less help from the market itself. So if I'm going to give you permission to do that, is to modify a goal, understanding that it's going to be a little bit different market that we're going into. So do we all have a goal? Do we all have a number of units we need to close? And if not, I'm sure we can get with Neal and do I have a very specific way to do goal setting. Simon knows this. It's called the heart attack form, that can get us a very specific number about the number of units you need to close in 2022. And that's for another day, Neal, if you want to put something like that together. But we must have, everyone, I want you to write down your goal. Is it an income goal? Is it a volume goal? And, this is a very personal process that we're all in. But if you don't have one, I call it your true north. So let me ask you a question. If you wanted to go to New York, what would you need? You need directions, right? So in order to get to directions to New York, what are the two things you need to know? Anyone? You need to know where New York is, right? What else do you need to know? You need to know where you are. Going to New York from Reno is different than going to New York from Albuquerque. So that's how you're going to get your roadmap, is by comparing where you are to where you want to go. So what I want to suggest that we do first is have our true north. And if we need to adjust it along the way, we can. But if we don't have it, we don't even have New York. We might know where we are, but we don't even have New York. So looking at where we are now, if we're in Albuquerque or Reno, I'm going to suggest that it's very, very, very worth your time to drill down a little bit. Take a look at your business in 2021. Can you source every lead that closed? Do you know where they came from? If not, this is probably the most important thing you could do today. Where did they come from? Were they a previous client? Did they come from an online marketing strategy that you had? Where, you know, are they referrals? Do you have business relationships, right? So the best thing that we can do to strengthen in 2022 was L. Ron Hubbard, who started Scientology, which he did as a, I think it was a doctoral paper he wrote. The best way to get rich was to start a new religion. That was his conclusion. But he said, L. Ron Hubbard said, discover the condition of affluence and strengthen it. So that means, what did you do in 2022 that worked? Figure that out. And step number one, excuse 2021 rather. So step number one in 2022 is find out what I did that worked and do more of it. Because this is a theme that we're going to follow throughout this hour. This is not about going wider, it's about going deeper. So why not start with what we already are successful at, and how can we tweak that? How can we fine tune that? How can we make that a little bit better? So the message, you know, when I'm working on something, when I was working on this for Neal, I notice when I'm seeing a repeating theme, a repeating comment, a repeating thread, because the way I look at it is that's the message I'm supposed to be getting if it kind of pops up everywhere. And the message that I'm seeing that's popping up over and over, and I'm talking about a wide variety of places, from Craig Heller was interviewing Tom Ferry. And if you're not familiar with Craig's new lead gen system, it's pretty good. I'll tell you about Chris Heller rather. To a coach, a guy named John Cheplack I follow, and he is the coach to the heaviest of the hitters, you know, the 1,500 units a year kind of guy. And what everybody I see saying again, 2022 is about simplifying. In fact, simplifying isn't, you know, as easy as it sounds. There's a preacher who once said, it takes me 20 minutes to write a 2-hour sermon, but 2 hours to write a 20-minute sermon. It's difficult to simplify. What I see also, the thread that's coming of information for 2022 is it's about getting back to the basics. In fact, I was really amused by this. Evidently, there's a new TikTok craze. So TikTok, you know, being the youngest generation, TikTok craze, this new like crazy thing somebody came up with, and it's working like a charm. It's called time blocking. You know, how many times over how many years have we seen the importance of time blocking? And here now it's been recently discovered as this great new, yet to be discovered tool on TikTok, time blocking. So again, it's about simplifying. It's about getting back to the basics. And the other thing I want you to take a look at is this is what happens when we had a market-driven market in 2022. What tends to get neglected is our database, because we're so busy just riding the wave, right? So databases get neglected because there's so much now business to be dealt with. So what I want to suggest today is that for 2022, we're going to discover the condition of affluence and strengthen it. And then number two, let's take a look at our database. Do you have a database? If not, that would be a thing to get going on. What are you doing to nurture your database, to touch your database? Do you have a written system or plan to work your database? Now, I don't care whose system you use. Let's say you're a brand new agent. You might want to go Brian Buffini. He and I used to be speakers for Joe Stump back in the early 90s till Brian got mad at Joe and said, "Fooey on you, I'm going to show you how to do this." And we all know the end of that story. So Brian Buffini has his 100 Days to Greatness that he's got for his brand new agents. So are you a new agent? Do you need something like that? Are you more established? Find the system that's going to resonate with you, because if it doesn't resonate with you, you're not going to do it. Like Brian Buffini, you know, are you going to go out and do pop buys? Yes, no, I'm not a pop buy gal. So I'm going to need a little bit of a different system. I'm going to do it. So database, have one, A. B, work it with a written system that you have in place that you can choose whoever system, but choose one and follow it. All right. So let me talk to you about your database. How many people do you have in your database? Anybody? Do you know the answer to that question? And now when I'm talking about database for the purposes of this conversation, I'm really thinking of people who know us, like us, and trust us. Right? So it's a higher quality of people. So that's really, I'm not talking about all your nurture leads that you have out of there, or the 12,000 cold leads you got from Boomtown that are, you know, someday business, maybe, you know, you're just dripping on them for whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is your warm people, the people you have done business with before, the people who are from church or bowling or whatever, who know you, like you, and trust you. How many people do you have in your database? Somebody, anybody? Do you know that number? Oh, Neal, we're gonna have to do this live one day so I can go around and tag people.
So Jesse says 166, Lynn says 110, Patty's 100. So we got some people.
Great, great. Well, thank you. So then the next question is, how many people do you need in your database? Anybody know the answer to that question?
I think it depends.
It does depend. Okay. And again, I'm talking about that high quality warm lead. So what I want to say is that you need to, part of being a real estate professional in this day and age is to be a professional, to understand your stats. And by the way, Neal, you're sending me stats on Palm Beach County, which I love, but I moved away from there 15 years ago, but I want to get that service that you're using.
Hey, Gina.
Well, you can go in and change it, so we're okay. So how many people do you need? So talking about being a professional, talking about none of the stats, here's one of the stats that you need to know. How frequently do people in your area move? Because that's going to tell us how many people you need in your database. Business is just math, ladies and gentlemen, all right? And that's something that we tend to shy away from as realtors. I found that, you know, sometimes realtors don't like the numbers, which is a big embarrassment to us because we're dealing with somebody's most important financial investment in life. And yet we, you know, gravitate away from the own numbers in our own business. But so if you're in an area where people move every 5 years, let's do that because it's an easy number. So if people move every 5 years, that means on any given year, 20% of the people in your database will be moving, right? Move every 5 years, 1 year is 20%. So let's say you wanted to do 40 transactions this year off of your database. If people moved every 5 years, that's 20%. So 40 divided by 0.2, 20% equals 200. Well, so that means in theory, you should have 200 in your database. But, you know, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? You know, the NAR statistic is that 90% of the people who have used an agent at the end of that transaction say they would use that agent again. That actually used to be 80%. That number has gone up. Problem is we lose contact with them. So you're not going to get every single person who's moving out of your database. So you would only need 20. The ratio we like to use for a close ratio for warm leads is a 33% close ratio. If you're getting warm leads, people who know you, like you, trust you, been referred to you, you will close 1 out of 3 of them. And that's a good closing ratio. Right, Neal? I mean, you know those core numbers. So if we have a 33% close ratio, means 1 out of 3 of those people those 40 people who are going to move this year, we need to divide that 200 number that we need in the database by 0.33. And it tells us that we need 606 people in our database. It's just math, man. It's just business. Everybody with me, or have I tilted you yet? I do tend to tilt.
There's a
we're going to
question.
also,
Carla has a question.
yes, Carla.
Yes, so the 606 people in the database to have 200, is it not closed transactions? What is it again?
40. I used the number 40.
40, okay, 40 closed transactions.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the 606, you said 200 will know, like, and trust this. Is that what it was?
I define database as people who are somewhat warm. Okay.
Okay.
People like trust, people you've done business before, some of your business relationships, your other social relationships, because the key is to build up that database. And not a lot of us have 606 people we've closed a transaction with. That
so out of 606, then 200 are the ones who are closest to us, or we have a better relationship.
It would be 200 people you need in your database. If you got 20% of the 200, that's that 40 that you need.
Okay.
So if every single person for sure used you would only need 200. But I'm saying 1 out of 3 people will use
1 out of
you.
3. That may, okay.
Right.
Thank you for
explaining. Which is why you need the 600. Yeah,
okay.
Great question. Thank you for asking that.
And also clarify, Kathie, depending on how good you are of keeping in touch with your database, your percentages will change for sure. And so, but I think you're talking generalities, and then depending on if they have their numbers in the past, they can see where their leads come from and see some historical data of what they're doing. It's really interesting when you start doing that. Is the past a lot of times carries into the future, and you can look at, like, I have different pillars of my business that gives me different rates of return percentage wise. And I know that geeking out of the numbers, but I think Kathie's talking more in a general sense.
And Neal's a great resource for you too, because he has the system to help you find this out. Because it's we've been so busy that we tend to forget the basics, and the basics are just numbers. How many leads do you get on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and what's your conversion ratio on those leads? And Neal can show you how to do all of that. But when we know that, we can be more grounded and centered and make more adequate, appropriate decisions in our business. Because in addition to our database, if we want to grow, we are going to need a cold lead gen source, or maybe 2. You really don't need much more than that. So again, this goes back to, do I need to grow my database? Well, I don't know. How many people do you have? All right. And what am I going to do for a cold lead gen source to grow my database? Is it just going to be open houses? Am I going to do some of these boomtown, Wailopo, icy cold lead gen systems? I don't know the answer to that. And it's up to you, which is what I want to kind of segue into the next thing I want to talk about. And this is what I call shiny object syndrome, SOS, shiny object syndrome. I don't know about you guys, but I get hundreds of emails a day with people who are wanting to sell me something, do something, latest, greatest, here we go, social media, this, that. It's just overwhelming. And what happens when you are overwhelmed with all of these choices, we're going back to the simplify, not complicate thought process here. When I'm overwhelmed with all these choices, what can happen, this is human nature, I'm not picking on anybody, is that we go into, it becomes stressful. All those choices are stressful. When we're in a stress position, we go into, I call it mental gridlock. And then it's easier to do nothing because it's too much. I don't know where to start. What's my first step? And then I end up doing nothing and just chasing after the next lead, which is not back to the basics. We're about building a sustainable business going forward. Any thoughts on the subject of shiny objects?
I think it gets a lot of us off track, and it's very, very common, especially with realtors. I think our personalities we're used to adapting, and it just kind of spins us if there's too many things at once. Realtors,
I have a theory that God didn't put a great salesperson and a great paperwork person in the same body. I don't know if anybody's ever struggled in that area. I certainly have. I can remember it like it was yesterday in the 90s when I found somebody who liked paperwork. Like, you like paperwork? Yeah. Really? No, I'd rather eat worms than do it. And so Sarah Bronson was her name, and she became my first assistant then. So coming with that realtor salesperson personality is we're kind of ready, fire, aim in our approach to life, or take the scattergun approach. We're going to load it all on, right, Gina? She knows she's in charge of executing. So what I want to say, the point of this conversation is that I want to help us to get specific on what information we need. Now, once we're specific, it's called your reticular activator. There's a part of your brain that separates out information that is important to us or a threat. If we took in all the information we're getting at any point in time, we would be crazy people. So this is a self-preservation as part of your reptilian brain to preserve us. But once you get clear on what it is I need to know, okay, maybe I don't have a system for working my database. What I need now, because I know my true north, I know where I'm going, I've taken a look at what exists as opposed to just, forgetting about it because we're so busy. Take a look at what exists, and then it's easy to figure out I need this next piece. I need to build my database. What are resources to do that? I don't have a database. I don't, that's a resource to do that. What's a system for working my database? What's a resource to do that? I had a guy, so a couple of things for me. What I did was I took my email address that I give to my multiple listing service, and I have a different email address I made up for them. And it's not my day-to-day working email address, because that's where the majority of my junk mail goes. So I'll go on there about once a week and I'll do, select all and just get rid of all that stuff, because I don't want it disturbing me on a daily basis, information that I don't need. This is how I've used this in my own life is, so right now I'm working on a website, and I'm working on sending traffic to that website. And I saw an advertisement somebody had for like a TV show they say they're doing. Maybe it's called The Networkers. And I thought maybe I could buy a video of me as one of their networker agents and post that on my website as a third-party endorsement, because that's the project I'm working on right now. So I responded back out of the 100 requests I get in a day to, join this webinar, do this thing, do that thing. So I responded back to that one, and I had a call with the guy. I spent about an hour of my time with him, and I found out that it's not really what I had imagined, but it's more another way for them to say to build your brand. And it didn't, because I was crystal clear on what I was trying to achieve, although the guy I talked to for an hour was very good. And I was very sold on everything he said. And I may have been tempted to do it for $600 a month. But then I went back and compared it to my true north. What are the projects I'm working on right now? I've got a new database system called Follow Up Boss. And then I'm drilling down on using that. And I have a new website that's going to be, we'll do some pay-per-click and Google and organic stuff to feed leads to my new Follow Up Boss system. That's what I'm doing. What this guy was selling was more of a branding product. That's not what I'm doing. So then I was able to say, no, I'm not going to take this on because it's not what's on my list for the goals to be achieved for 2022. Anybody else have any experiences like that? Trying to get sold, or I could do this, or I could do that. We're like ricochet. We're like a ferret on a double cappuccino. That's what us realtors are like. We're running around doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And that's, go back to time blocking on TikTok, the new greatest thing. Angie.
I'm not sure what you said, Kathie. I saw something shiny.
Say what?
I said, I'm not sure what you said because I saw something shiny.
Exactly. Squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel. Angie, I feel like picking on you. Are you there?
I think she's talking about Angie Koken.
Angie, so how do you, excuse me?
Sorry, I'm on mute.
There, I know you unmuted yourself. Good girl. We all know our way around Zoom now. What do you think about what I've been sharing?
Well, I think I need to get my database in order. I think I've been very, very disorganized in going about and managing my business.
Yeah.
And, you know, taking it seriously, but not taking my business seriously. So taking what I'm doing seriously and, you know, giving that 100%, but not taking managing my business seriously. So one of my goals, I'm, you know, making my little task list throughout this of what I have for, you know, 2022 planning and need to get that done, you know, kind of toot sweet here.
Well, and then I guess also what I'm suggesting too is that take a look at that and refine it down, because otherwise, you know, that we all know about the peaks and valleys in real estate. Mm-hmm. And the reason we have, and the goal really in real estate as we build our businesses, and, you know, I'm very thankful that in today's age, we all understand the concept of being in the business of real estate. That's why we started the core training back in 2000, because realtors just were not understanding the opportunity we have here. And here in 2020, we can really build a very significant business in the business of real estate. The first thing that we need to manage is the peaks and valleys of income, because what happens, somebody tell me if I'm wrong here, I don't think so. What happens is all of a sudden we get busy, and then we're dealing with all the busy. We had, you know, a big 10 deal closing month in November, and we're all focused on getting every deal closed, focus. And then boom, what happens? A valley. Why? Because we have been so focused on dealing with the business in front of us that now we're left because we haven't been focused on building our other lead gen sources and building that up. So it's working on your business while you're working in your business, time blocking, most important skill set. Once you get, yeah. And so what is going to happen so that's a month to month level, but what we run the risk of having happen here on a macro level is that 2021 is the peak, right? Because it was just throwing stuff at us, and we had different challenges like multiple offers and how do I get accepted, all that kind of stuff. But because we had that peak, if we don't do the sorts of things, and do it or not do it, and we're just talking about it here today, but if we don't do the sorts of things I'm talking about here today, we're going to get a valley called 2023. Probably not going to be called 2022. 2022, we're probably still going to do okay. And then we kid ourselves into some complacency. You know, and I've been around to see, so in the 90s, Fed loan crisis and that, and negotiating with sellers where I was making up net sheets to show them how much money they had to bring to the table, had to count taxes they hadn't paid, that sort of thing. So the 90s, we had the dot-com boom in 2000. Then we had, of course, the crazy market of 2006. We had 2007 through 11. You know, I've been through them all, and here we are. And for those of you who are newer in the business, who weren't around for those other ones, just please listen to Annie Kathie on this one. If we don't do that infrastructure building and firming activity now, while we're still getting paid, in 2023, it's going to, you know, it'll be like the Wizard of Oz. You know, who is that masked man behind the curtain? Ain't nobody home, and we'll have a big problem.
Kathie, Carla has a question for you.
Yes, Carla.
So I want to comment about the shiny object syndrome. So I am a fairly new agent. I got with my brokerage in September, and I'm not new to business, just new to the real estate industry. So my prior business, I really analyzed leads. I would only focus, I'd like crank up what worked after analyzing where the leads came from after, you know, like every 3 months, I would think analyze that. So I love statistics. I love keeping track of that. And so the shiny ball syndrome is like, you can do it this way, this way, this way. But like you said, you have to do what works for you. And what worked for me, my prior business, was getting in front of people. Events were great. And so that's why I am focusing. So this quarter, my focus is scheduling one-on-one meetings with my referral partners, because I'm a seniors real estate specialist, and sharing with them why I should be a partner with them and why they should be a partner with me. And then my second goal is,
and that is building your database, by the way.
Building my database. I moved. That's the other thing, is I moved from the area that I had my prior business. So I'm not even in that area anymore. So I do have to start a brand new database. And so then I have events is another one, and then sending out handwritten notes. So I am working diligently this quarter and focusing on those three things and shutting out everything else so that I don't get
and Brian Buffini,
distracted.
and there's lots of free stuff out there too. Speaking of shiny objects, Brian Buffini is all about the handwritten note. So maybe something he offers, like his 100 Days to Greatness there, since you're starting out and you want to build right. And I love to hear what you're saying about you bringing your business acumen from other areas to here, and your ability to track leads and quantify leads. I think is a huge piece that many of us miss.
And Carla, real quick, I'm going to interrupt. Kathie, actually, I need to get her and Michael Mayer together. One of the things Michael Mayer's big on is events and notes as well. So Carla, let's talk about that. I'm one of his certified referral trainers, and can kind of talk you through some stuff in there, because some of his stuff, I've done events in the past. He's the first person I've ever, my wife will attest to this, the first person I've ever been able to monetize an event and getting referrals out of an event. And it's the first time ever I've been able to do that. So reach out to me, or I'll reach out to you.
Do all of you kind of see how this works? Because we're talking about getting clear on what it is we need for our true north. Carla knows, she's able to articulate where she is and what she needs. And just in doing that, on this call alone, now she's got a specific actionable task with somebody who does what she's looking for. Much better to spend your time following that path than, oh, I should be doing social media. Oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I should be doing that. Simon, are you there, buddy?
Yeah, go ahead, Kathie.
What are your thoughts on this subject?
I think having a blueprint of keeping things simple, for me personally, is bringing a sense of calm. Like, this is possible. This is what I should be doing. And just adhering to that core of my database, because, like you said, the shiny object syndrome, it's so distracting, and it's very unsettling, because you're trying to evaluate where to spend your dollars, and is this a good move, and what's the best path for me. And I'm sitting here thinking, and I look at my transactions over the last few years, and it is heavy on the people that I know, love, and trust.
Right.
So it's just so, like you said, simplicity is the key. And I think it's just the sunrise is coming up. So I'm like, what am I doing? Just slow down and get back to the basics.
And you make a really good point about it. Am I alone, or can anybody else relate to feeling stress from shiny object syndrome? And so too many choices it makes life difficult. The other thing we run the risk of, and I know this because, I started out as a speaker with Joe Stump in the early 90s and have been involved in that world up to this day, is that people who get up on the stage or have something to sell you, and it's always the latest, greatest, and they make themselves out to be the rock stars of the planet. I know for a fact there's a lot of bullshit going on. Oh, sorry. I know it. So, and if we start looking at that, then the next step is to consciously or unconsciously start to compare ourselves to that. And of course, when you're comparing your insides, to somebody's outsides, I am this, that, the other thing, we come away the loser. It's hard to compare your insides to somebody else's outside. You know, I know my business, you know, on the day-to-day, it's like being in surgery, right? It's a bloody mess. You know, a patient goes into surgery, surgery happens, blood machines, whatever they're playing, you know, rock music in the background, who knows what goes on there. Patient comes out the other side and they're nice and sewed up and nice, everything's nice and clean and they look great, right? And that's like our business. And so we start to compare our day-to-day to what other people are doing. We're going to end up feeling less than, which also can lead to that mental gridlock and doing nothing. So another really important reason to protect yourself from that. Who do I see here who looks bored? Dustin, you look like a guy who might have something going on. What are you thinking?
Well, what I would say is I sort of tend to go the opposite way, in where I don't pick my head up and look at different opportunities that come my way, right? Mm-hmm. For the next shiny tool or whatever. So while I agree you have to stay focused, and that's what I always do, I would say don't be afraid to try something new, right? As long as, like you mentioned, it fits with your true north or fits into the current system, complements what you have going on. That's what I would say.
And do not get me wrong on this. I am not against trying something new. What I'm trying to articulate here is that we have to, I mean, I'm doing new stuff every year. That's the only way you stay relevant and current in this industry. But we have to be laser focused on what is the piece we want, and then sift through all the shiny objects to, Dustin, what is one piece you're going to be working on this year?
Well, in my capacity, you know, I'm sort of, I herd a lot of cats, right, Neal? And so I'm always looking for a way to sort of gently focus the cat's attention where I need it to go, I guess. So I'm looking for something to help me do that, you know.
And what kind of, what something can help you do that?
You know, I don't really have an idea on it. I'm not sure.
Would it be a lead management system of some sort, a drip campaign, a consistent follow-up?
Probably.
He needs a whip.
Yeah, whip. Probably.
Nail and Jello, herding cats.
Probably in my line of work, it would be a consistent communication strategy to my team. That's what I would say.
Right. Consistent. And you have to your team, did you say?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so then it gets into management of the team, management of yourself as the leader, because the team is just going to amplify who we are as a leader. So if we're a all over the place leader, guess what we're going to have?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if our goal is to, and the thing is, Dustin, as we get more deep into the building of teams, we find out that the building of the team is equivalent to your building of self. Absolutely. So maybe something to be focusing on this year is how do I grow as a leader if I'm not getting the results that I'm looking for out of my team?
Sure.
Do I coach my team members up or do I coach them out? Do I have the right people on the bus? You know, it's a different basket of questions that we need to ask ourselves.
Agreed.
So I'm just having a vibe here. Patty, I see that got you. I see that you're on a tropical breeze vacation. What do you
don't I wish? No, that's just one of those things on the video through Zoom that you could put. So, well, I work kind of like Carla. I do note cards. I'm going to set up one-on-ones. I'm going to do some events with my All Yap and Top Yap. I already are involved with Michael Mayer and the Refer Code Company. That's how I know Neal.
Okay.
And my biggest issue is time blocking. So looking forward to next month because we're going to have a seminar with Neal that's going to do that. So
it's back to the basics this year. You know, they say we're in the information age. I say they're wrong. We're in the information overload age.
I agree.
Got a big amen from Patty there. Yeah.
And I've been doing video this week, so practicing something I've never done before. So
you hear a lot of talk about that. But that might be one piece. So to go deeper with your relationships, even some videos, you know, purposely structured to do what it is you want to do, is go deeper with your big database. The last little point I want to talk to you guys here about today, and we'll get out a little bit early, I know that's always fun, is the other point is, so we've got know your true north, beware of shiny object syndrome, and the third point is leverage. Okay, leverage. When you look at the top of the top realtors, let's just say top 5%, and ask what it is they want more of, you're never going to hear the word money. You're always going to hear the word time. All right, time is finite. And so leverage brings us more time to do, you know, whatever it is they're wanting to do. You know, maybe Dustin is going to take less time. Are you in personal production, Dustin, too? No, yes?
No,
yes,
not really.
Not really. Okay. So for those of like, I'm still in personal production and I'm building my team. And that's a very difficult place to be, because your personal production is important, but it's the leverage piece is the team, right? So we succeed through others. So I want everybody's at a different spot in their journey on here. What is the one piece of leverage that you could bring into your business in 2022? Now, if it may be an assistant, right? I'm back at getting a new assistant again. It's like crazy not having one. So is it an assistant? Or we don't need to go that far in today's business. So if you're newer in the business, how about a transaction processor? Is there a transaction process you can pick to do that piece? Because it is very, very, very economical to have the transaction processor do that piece, and you free up the time to work in your business, work on your business. And I can show you a way to do that for free, by the way, PS, but that'd be maybe the next call that we do with Neal. Maybe it's a virtual assistant. Maybe you have, you know, your Dustin's model, you have a lot of cold leads coming in. You need an ISA virtual assistant type person. Maybe it's that piece.
Kathie, Jesse has a question.
Yes, sir.
It's not so much a question, but I saw your tutorial introduction to when Neal were introducing the program, and that's exactly what intrigued me to log on. Is that you hit a point that's made me think a little bit. I think what Dustin's saying is that he's looking. I mean, I'm kind of like the same way. I'm looking a way to refine myself, but I'm not looking for a way to reinvent myself. Mm-hmm. And that's what helps me with 7L. So I'm not looking to recreate myself. I'm just wanting to build from what I have going on. And one of the things that you said, and actually this is the part right here where I wanted to hear a little bit more about what you have to say about leveraging, because since I heard that video, I am looking for a better, I know that there's better transaction coordinators, mm-hmm. and that also have that offer, for what I'm paying, offer other services in regards to marketing and helping with the other aspects of my business. So that's kind of like leveraging and, refining, tuning up my business. So that's what I'm looking for now. So when you said leveraging the business, like got my wheels turning.
And I love this. And this is my exact example of specificity. Did I say that right? So now you know what it is you need. You have a transaction processor, but you think that you can get it done better for cheaper, or they're not doing it the way you want to do it. So my piece this year is to find that right person and get that right person on my team. and find that right process and make sense and find a way to make it so it doesn't cost me anything. It's called getting an assistant for free.
Yeah, I'm not looking for her to look for a cheaper way. I'm not looking for someone cheaper, but I am looking for someone for what I'm already paying for, getting more value out of the system.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. And, you know, and that's not the biggest project in the world, but it's a very, very important project because you get that piece in there. What does it buy you? Time to do all the other things. Does everybody on the call have a coach? I've been there. Guys see Jesse, I'm not coaching now personally, so this is not a plug of any sort. But I've been involved in that world for pushing 30 years, 25 years. And, it used to be something that was looked at as a luxury, I guess I want to say it that way. But in today's world, I think that it's really important to have somebody whose role is to hold you accountable, is to help you to ease your path to find the answers that you want to find. You know, the coach that Jesse would look for might be completely different, would be completely different than the coach that Dustin would be looking for. Dustin, since I've been picking on you, do you have a coach? No?
Yeah.
Well, what it does for me is you're going to pay money depending on what you want, but that money is buying me, that money can shorten my learning curve on whatever it is I'm working on right now and increase my path to profitability, then it's money well spent. And I know it's just kind of a way sidebar, but anytime you spend money, you got to expect a minimum of 3 times your return on that investment. So if you're going to pay $1,000 for a coach or 15 for a coach, you need to be getting $3,000 to $5,000 a month in additional business to have that be worth your expense. So get clear on what the project is you're wanting to work on this year. And then trust me, your reticular activator you'll notice the email in the shiny objects with I'm working on this right now. Maybe I'm working on my social media project. So I'm going to find someone, and coaches, you need to think in terms of a long-term relationship, but maybe I'm going to take a 6-month seminar from this coach about social media. Maybe it's something else I'm doing. So I want to throw that out there. I'm a big fan of, paying someone who's smarter than me or is more practiced than me at whatever it is I want to do right now to help me ease the path. Neal, what are you thinking, buddy?
Kathie, thank you so much, you guys. Real quick, speaking of coaching, Kathie said that she would be okay with a 20-minute coaching session with Kathie as a drawing. So how we're going to do that is you guys can pick a number between 1 and 100. I've written the number down and I'll show it on my screen here in a second. Pick a number between 1 and 100. You can put it in the chat bar or you can pull it up and show it. And the closest one gets 20 minutes with Kathie. And she said, she's not doing this right now. So this is a special treat for sure. It looks like
Heather picked my age. I think you might want to go with her.
Exactly right. Well,
everybody.
Is that everybody?
Oh, almost.
So the number is 23. And so I don't know who is on SDA iPhone. Who is that? Who picked 19?
Must be present to win.
Well, they're there. They typed it in. If somebody's on an iPhone,
come off mute.
Come off mute if you can. Boom, boom, boom.
Is it Shelly?
No, it's not. I don't know who it is. So with that,
Kathie, it is Shelly.
On my phone,
it is
Shelly.
Oh, Shelly. Okay.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Perfect. Okay. I got your information.
Sorry, I'll unmute. It's me.
Okay, perfect. So Kathie, Shaylee and I co-coach a Miracle Morning 30 morning thing. She's
nice.
awesome. So and she's also be good friend with you because she works with Joe Stump currently.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
Yeah, so you guys will be able to talk a little shop.
Okay.
So
great.
I want to say, Kathie, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, you guys. As you can tell, this is not reinventing, but also you can tell the way Kathie asks questions are very pointed in what she does. So thank you. And then Carla, you had something real quick.
No, just clapping, thanking.
Well,
oh, okay, got it.
And Neal, share if you wouldn't mind, share my contact information with everyone on the call. If you have a question or thought, we're all in this together, and I'm very happy to chat and get to know you a little bit better too. So
absolutely, and we're just we're going to send everybody her information, one, and then two, we're working on our website, and eventually we're going to hopefully have this up on our website. You'll be able to go to our website, pull it down, look at the recording down the road. So thank you, Kathie, so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody too.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, bye.